Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dope Podcast, the second podcast in our web series. It's been almost a month since we last recorded this podcast, and I'm glad to announce that in the last 4 weeks, we've trained more than 100 people through our one tab literacy workshops. So, we've come today with a very interesting topic, one that is going to speak about how engineering is becoming more powerful than data science. It's been the most glorified field, the data science field, over the last decade. Various types of skills getting called under data science practice. As we expand our thinking into agentic AI, we would see a lot more engineering focus along with the data science, of course. And we will speak about that and how that is going to help organizations scale in our current discussion today. I'm also going to have a new host today along with us, my co-host, Mr. Harsha Varun. Very glad to introduce to him. He's been one of the founding pillars of OneTap University. The idea came together to us over a phone conversation, and he loved it, and he said, "Let's go for it." He's also actively supporting us into our R&D initiative and in the one-tap consulting, of course, and that helps us, make Harsha a very important pillar in one-tap ecosystem. So we're also happy to announce that we are launching a lot of demo series, a lot of actual hands-on series, making it open to public. Some of which we are using in our training programs in detail. So you would get a flavor of what type of things that you would learn and experience as you go along the journey. We're also curating a lot of different types of training workshops as we heard from the audience. We got to be looking at making these programs a lot more personalized, a lot more functional in nature. One which will come soon next week, another web series, so look out for that. And then there are also going to be a lot of technical demos for people to really understand how the ease of making agentic AI workflows in various business use cases is there today. We're also launching different types of series online for people to subscribe to. These are, of course, paid programs launched under OneTap University, which will also give you a certification. These certified individuals are also going to get opportunities within OneTap Consulting as contracting work January, February onwards. So look out for those series again and those opportunities that we float under the OneTap Community Charter, which we are creating under OneTap University. And so with this, I think I would like to formally introduce Mr. Harsha Vuran. So hi Harsha, how are you?
Hi everyone, this is Harsha. I'm excited to be here with Dipesh. So I have been a data science practitioner my entire career. I've worked on data science implementations and AI implementations for both large enterprises and startups. And right now I'm working with OneTap University to set up the foundations of what university means in context of businesses. How do they upskill themselves? And this topic that we are talking right now about models to agents is something that is close to me because I have seen various types of companies working on agentic AI implementations, and I'll be happy to share my experiences with you guys.
So good to have you, Harsha, here. The important conversation today. We wanted to sort of have you here because you have the last decade plus years of experience in the field of AI development. You and I having worked together in the past. Over the last 2.5 years, also you've seen enterprises adopting agentic AI in their journey. So, what are those major shifts that you are observing in the field of AI development? We know that AI is reaching the mass, it's getting democratized. A lot more people with limited access or understanding of technology are able to use AI today. But in your experience, when it comes to enterprises, it becomes a lot more formal and lot more organized. So, what are those shifts and trends that you're observing in this particular field of AI development?
Yeah, um, definitely, Dipesh. So I think you covered it, right? You basically said that AI is becoming more formal or AI is becoming more democratized. Uh, the main reason for it is become obviously because accessibility of AI is becoming more and more, right? You can use AI, you can do vibe coding, you can do a lot more stuff with AI now than what you could have done 3 4 years back, right? And this is, I feel, bringing three different shifts in the industry. First, I think, is basically an engineering mindset taking over a data science, siloed data science mindset, rather, right? And what I mean by this is, like, if you take 7 8 years back, we used to have models, like we used to build models, and we used to basically operationalize models. That used to be the scope of what a data science activity would have been. But now we have to think about systems. How do you design end-to-end systems? How do you design basically how do you design process augmentation using
Hmm.
AI as a whole, right? And thinking about outcomes more than basically thinking about just models is very important right now. And that also brings a shift in the skill. And data science, a data pure data scientist has to upskill themselves, not just in terms of understanding the business, but they should also be able to understand engineering. Like they should be
Hmm.
able to do development, they should be able to do maybe
Hmm.
basics of workflow development and things like this.
Hmm.
And and this is not something new. We have been seeing an AI engineer role in the last 5 6 years. It's not something new, but it has been accelerated through adoption of AI, and the need for it is becoming more now than ever. um,
Hmm.
the second shift I'm seeing is primarily around adoption itself. Earlier, I think, again, it's, if you take a 5 6 year back scenario, we most of the solutions used to be custom built. We used to build the solution first. We used to do a pilot POC, then basically we used to operationalize it, and it used to be a long cycle, right? 2 year, 3 year cycle. But nobody wants to wait for 3 years, obviously, right now, to get an AI solution implemented, because I think 100 things
AI is
change in the
supposed to
3 years.
make everything fast, no?
Yeah, exactly. And 100 things change in the 3 years, right? If you go
Correct.
3 year implementation cycle, everything changes in this 3 years. You
Those
don't know
three
what
month
happens
data science projects don't work anymore.
anymore. Exactly. Now it's all, you adopt what is there, adopt what works, and then basically, if something is missing, then only you custom build it. That's how this approach. That's how the thinking has become. So if any client, if you go to, or anyone who you talk to, they want something in 1 week.
Hmm.
Maybe not now. Maybe now it's 1 week. Maybe 5 months down the line, it will be one day. They want something in a day, right? So the mindset should also be that of the practitioner should also be that what can be used or what can be leveraged as much as possible,
Hmm.
instead of thinking of this building everything mindset. So that
Agree.
is second. That is the second shift that I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And the third important shift is basically that, when Gen AI came up initially, most of the applications that people felt were just knowledge bots, right? You build a knowledge bot, you build a chat bot
Yeah.
for a system or for a website, or an internal knowledge employee service bot that
Hmm.
is basically more or less serving your purpose. But now it has changed, because people are expecting end-to-end workflows. People are expecting systems, a living system that can self-learn, that can take inputs from humans, that can basically augment decisions of humans and things like that. So this requires more than just knowledge. This requires workflows, this requires integrations, this requires actions being performed by the system, and things like that. And we can go through this as we go through some examples later in the
No, of
podcast.
course, of course.
Yeah,
So what I understand is enterprises have realized that AI is not just a toolkit to build knowledge bots or chat bots, or that was the hype around 2 years, 3 years back.
yeah,
They have understood the true meaning by evangelizing various types of AI solutions created in different silos and using them to create use cases. And eventually they understand that there is a need for a system design thinking, because if you don't connect systems and you don't make them talk to each other, the full capability of AI is like driving a 4x4 in a city. Unless you are in
yeah,
Bangalore,
exactly.
probably it's not
Yeah,
a good use of that car.
yeah,
Right, but that also tells me, then coming back to you and I, we both come from that origins of data science, right? That has been our roots, our background, mu sigma days, how it used to be. But would you say then this data science as a persona or as a thought process doesn't really fit into the whole agentic AI concept that is evolving?
no, no, not exactly, Dipesh. I think data scientist is still relevant, right? And they will always have relevance, but a siloed thinking of data science will never work, right? And
Hmm.
it did not work, even if you remember in uh, like Mu Sigma days as well. We had this concept of decision scientist,
Correct.
which is essentially what it was like, basically bringing math, tech, and data science
Business
together.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like in our Bridge I2I, even in Bridge I2I, we had the concept of insight impact, not just ending at the insight, but
The
also
whole triangle
transferring
has
the
shrunk.
thinking.
No, now the gap between technology and AI had been
Has
coming
become
closer
coming
over the
now.
last five
Yeah,
years,
five
and now
years.
business has come closer to
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. But yeah, exactly. And I think a data scientist thinking that if I build a model, if I
Yeah,
build, let's say, if I take commodity price forecasting in procurement, if a data scientist thinks that if I build a commodity price forecasting model and get it to 90% accuracy, it won't work anymore,
it won't
because
work.
yeah, because you can't first guarantee a 90% accurate model consistently. It will
Will
basically
continue to be
average it.
90% even in the
Yeah,
next 4 weeks
yeah,
in procurement at least.
exactly. But you need to have a system that can learn from
Yeah.
past. It can also basically not just self-correct, but it can also understand. Okay, this is where I can do something that is good. This is where I need a procurement intervention, and
Correct.
then basically it can collaborate really with the procurement guy
Hmm.
to basically make decisions more effective. That
Yeah.
is the objective of commodity price forecasting. If you take as an example, right, you
Hmm.
need to
Hmm.
make procurement more effective.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if I, as a data scientist, still keep thinking that I need to get a 90% accurate model, it won't work.
Hmm.
So I need to think about what is, I need to not think about what is that 90% that works. I need to think about how do you make that 10% not work? And how
Hmm.
do you basically bring human in the loop? And
Hmm.
how do you design those systems to
Hmm.
make the 10% not
Yeah.
work? And this requires not just like a data science mindset, right? This requires an engineering mindset. If you think of an engineer, they think about everything. They think about a system and how different parts of the system come together. How do teams come together? What are the interlock between teams? What are the types of interactions that happen, and things like that? And and obviously, as a data scientist, I've been seeing, like, at least a lot of data scientists I've seen, they kind of think that engineering is beyond their scope,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
But that's not the case, because they think, actually, people think engineering is very technical, but I
Hmm.
think engineering is not a technical work. It has a technical component. It has a heavy technical component, obviously, but without thinking about a system, you cannot be basically an engineer. And
Yeah.
systems thinking is the core of engineering, and that is what I think data science needs to kind of pick. And even in terms of skills, I think if we had if you think about, again, 3-4 years back, we used to have this sequential development cycle. That
Correct.
means you build the model
Waterfall
first.
approach.
Yeah, you get the data first, then you build the model, then you operationalize the model, then someone builds the UI. So it's like, essentially, if you have a project, there is a four-member team: one data engineer, one data scientist, one ML engineer, then you had one UI developer or full stack developer. Now that will also shrink, because you have vibe coding tools. You need maybe not four people, maybe you need just two people doing this, uh, or one person doing this. And so you need a person that can understand all of it, not someone who can still think that, okay, I only build the model and move away from it. It's not true for just data scientists, but it's also true for engineers, like traditional full stack engineers, traditional data
Correct.
engineers, ML
Correct.
engineers. They will also have to think about the other side of the spectrum. And
Yeah.
I see this shift happening in full stack developers
Yes.
specifically.
Correct.
And I think you can also relate, because
Yeah.
yeah, because we've seen people in one tab. So you can also relate, right? I can see this shift clearly happening in full stack developers already, and they are, I think they are have already caught up with all of these things.
Yeah.
Maybe not completely, but at least there, at least 70-80% there. But I'm not seeing this shift still at
In
that
data
scale
scientists.
happening in data
Yeah.
science.
No, that's a
Yeah,
very fair ask. In fact, if you made 2 3 comments, I just made notes of them. So I wanted to add to this when you said engineering is not very complex when it comes to technically grasping it. It's just that it's just too many things that one needs to understand and connect them together. This engineering at least has been adopted most by the AI. So engineering, data engineers and application developers are the first ones to fully adopt AI
yeah,
and start using them in their code development, and it has
yeah,
changed how productive they can be, right? It has changed how much more they can do, and they are actually an example for other technology folks to follow. folks in data
yeah,
science, of course, as we speak about them today, but even folks in other areas like cybersecurity. How can cybersecurity now adopt AI to expand their scope of doing their core development very well? And at the same time, you spoke about application developer. We used to have separate teams of front end and back end development. Now everyone is doing full stack development, right? So that evolution of role has already happened in engineering. It's almost like that statement I have, the prodigal child has returned
yeah,
in all its glory, engineering, right? And I used to remember such large 1 year, 18 months projects we used to do back
yeah,
in consulting. Right now, people are looking at a 6 month time window to complete end to end data migration activities because of agentic AI, and the conversation of how accurately they are able to handle those job descriptions. Reliability has also increased, where CTOs have decided that having an agent, having a workflow mechanism, having an organized governance around doing code development with agentic AI approach is far more reliable. And it is now going to get access at an integration level. So that's how the engineering has taken this
yeah,
to various stages, which is where you are also alluding to this, right? I think at some point we got to start learning from these engineering folks to see how data scientists have to start, managing. The AI engineer was a field, for example, 5 6 years back. Then most of it was taken up by engineers who learned data
yeah,
science, and now data scientists have to learn engineering to become agentic AI,
yeah,
experts, or development experts, as you are calling them. Because I have this idea of system design, and with agentic AI, we used to do system design on pen and paper back in 2015 16, when we were solving problems for customers. We're never really able to model each and every equation together. But with system design, truly getting integration capabilities with agentic AI, you can start looking at various types of flows coming in, flows going down. You mentioned about the fact that it's not about the 90%, it's about explaining the 10% and keeping a track of those 10%, right? Reading from various signals in commodity price
yeah,
forecasting is not about just
yeah,
forecasting the trend or the levels or the pattern. It's about explaining what's causing that shift, what is the impact of that in the past, and how has it varied today. So how does an engineering mindset brings in the systems components of the systems into this entire design philosophy, and then gives a recommendation from the model outputs, which is just one part of the entire agentic AI workflow, to tell to the business that this is fairly reliable versus this you may want to take it with a pinch of salt. And even the business then starts adding their own intuition to the overall conversation, which is where I think the whole engineering mindset over data science mindset has taken precedence, right? Is what I think you are also sort of alluding to, correct?
yeah, exactly. I think I would maybe term this role as a full stack data scientist,
Full stack data
right?
scientist, good
Yeah,
word,
a
well
full stack
rated term.
data scientist, rather than like a rather than like a full stack engineer. I'll call it maybe a full stack data scientist who
Good
should
word.
basically come with equipped, who should basically come equipped with multiple skills to think
Absolutely.
end to end. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So this is an interesting conversation. Now that we've spoken about how engineering is leading the way in terms of creating the right systems, would you also say that the adoption journey, so over the last 5 7 years, we've seen various transformation projects getting adopted, right? Delivering 50, 60, $70 million of savings through different types of projects. But is that adoption story going to change in any way in terms of how the development is going to be done? How the different types of cycles, we had pilot and POCs, and then scale up, and then various types of interventions post that, to make sure adoption goes right. But how do you see this adoption story evolving, Harsha?
yeah. I think, like you said, Dipesh, these long cycles of POC pilot, I think they are gone. You can't wait for a 3 4 month POC anymore, right?
Hmm.
And why is that also happening is basically because of tools itself. Like, and we have been there is an article from MIT. I don't know if you read it. You would have read it, which is basically 95% of agentic AI implementations fail. But that's the headline of the article. But if you read it, what is happening is basically that people are using AI. that is not going away, right? It's failed doesn't mean people are not using AI. People are using AI, but people are using AI so much that basically they find ChatGPT, the way they customize, the way basically they use ChatGPT, they find it better than any custom solution that they build in
Yeah.
the organization. For example, right? If I, as a user, if I basically talk to ChatGPT for 3 months on the
Hmm.
same topic again and
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
that itself has an enough context to get my persona, to get my problems, to understand me as a person, and customize and personalize its recommendations to me, right? So I think one thing that what I realized is basically that uh, people don't want to wait, or people don't want to rely on solutions that are custom developed always, right? It doesn't mean you don't build custom solutions. You have to build custom solutions, but you have to see first what is working. Like if ChatGPT is working for a use case, there's nothing wrong with using ChatGPT, right? And if your enterprise is seeing value with just ChatGPT, if let's say if not 100%, but at least let's say 60-70% value is coming from ChatGPT, get that first. And I think do a training of ChatGPT for your enterprise, for your business stakeholders, what to use, what not to use, how to prompt, how not to prompt. And that how it might basically just take couple of days, 1 week or so for them to become comfortable, and that itself gives value uh, to the teams to start with. And this also ties back into how a data science mindset has to again evolve, because data science should not always mean that I have to build something,
Yeah,
right?
that's
uh,
what the whole passion was always about. That I am
yeah,
building some crazy machine learning model that is going to forecast
yeah,
the whole world.
exactly.
But that's not going to happen anymore, unfortunately.
Exactly. And it's the reality. We have to kind of deal with it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But it should not always be I have to build something. It
Hmm.
should be that what makes business work.
Yeah, you have to create value as
Yeah,
opposed to building
exactly.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then see if something is not possible through what is there,
Hmm.
then can I build something? Is
Hmm.
should be my approach.
Hmm.
And second thing is also that even if you want to build something, there are a lot of uh, no code low code solutions now available in the market, right? You take N8 you take Agent Kit by OpenAI. We are also doing a series on
Correct.
N8, as you know. So N8 and Agent Kit, there are a lot of other no code low code solutions, vibe coding solutions like Lovable, Replit. There's so many things available in the market. You can kind of prototype and see what is working very quickly. You don't need
Hmm.
to basically wait for 3 months to
Hmm.
get there. So I think the focus of teams should not be that how do I build the best solution? How do I basically get to adoption should be the focus, right? And not just like adoption through accuracy, but basically adoption through agility. Like what I would say is you get someone to use something in 1 week, let's say, and basically in that 1 week you get to know whether something is working or not,
Hmm.
and if it's not working you move on from there, right? So like rapid experimentation, low cost experimentation is basically the focus,
But
and
would it
whatever.
not then have a risk of overbuilding? So you end up building then 100 different things. So let's see if I am a sales head, right, and you are the AI head, and you end up doing rapid experiments in 90 days, 90 different solutions using your no code, low code platforms. Of those 90, 85 have failed. Only five have worked. How would you then, ensure that this is not a problem because this is a good thing? At least we got the five things right, and the 85 things that didn't go right have taught us so much more that next time is only going
Yeah,
to become better. So what would be your approach as a developer to sort of think about this as you design or orchestrate the whole thing with your team?
yeah, and I think that's where agile mindset comes in, Dipesh. Like I think main thing here is to not think that these 90 are disconnected problems that I'm solving. I have to think that
Yes, that is
somehow
very
these are connected. Like it may be in terms of technical approach,
very
or
good
maybe
point.
one problem is like a step up of the second
Hmm.
problem, right?
Hmm.
But this is where again like a design thinking comes into solution into place. How do you build? How do you bring in reusable capabilities?
Hmm.
Again, I'm not saying we have to build it. All of these can be kind of there in the market, and you're reusing what is already working. But how do you bring in reusable capabilities? How do you bring those fundamental Lego blocks, maybe you can, if you can call it, those Lego blocks that can kind of help you build those 90 at scale. That is one way of thinking about it. Second way of thinking about it is basically that if you can club problems into group of problems that can kind of be a step up of another. Let's say I have, uh, uh, I take an example again, since we are going back to this commodity price forecasting, I'll take
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
commodity
makes
price
sense.
forecasting. So I have a forecasting model,
Hmm.
and basically that means if I think of a forecasting model as a small scale experiment, and or something around forecasting as a small scale experiment, a next experiment could be an evolution of that. So next experiment could be hedging. How do you hedge your purchases
Correct.
on for based on forecast,
Correct.
right? So basically what I can do then is, let's say instead of focusing on getting a model 90-95%, working for 6 months to get a model 95% accurate, maybe then I can just say that I got to an accuracy of 80% in 1 week, let's say, and in another 2 weeks maybe, and these timelines are rough, I'm not saying
No,
this is
no.
possible or anything, but I'm just saying in another 2 weeks I build a system that can do the hedging for me, so that even if I'm not accurate, even like it brings me the transparency and it tells me how to you purchase in this scenario, right? Or it gives me signals that okay, fine, this is where there are some problems and you have to make a buying decision. So what I feel is that if you think of problem as basically like this block is one construct. Lego blocks is basically taking problems, technically breaking them down into modules.
Hmm.
Like RAG can be one module, or basically tool calling. How do you build tool calling agents? Multi-step reasoning tool calling agents could be one module. Like forecasting can be another module. I'm just saying if you can break these models into these modules and build these modules, that is one way of thinking about it, but that's still maybe an investment that you have to
And
make,
that's a reusable asset, right? So the
asset that you
reusable
have to make
asset
upfront.
definition has changed. We used to
Yeah,
have reusable asset as forecasting engine.
yeah,
That would have some 30 different techniques and it would forecast left, right, center, everything. But the reusable assets now are these different workflow toolkits that you are creating,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
then you are functionally having a team which is organized to ensure this
confident.
organization is incremental in nature to the transformation charter of procurement. From the forecasting, we start doing planning and budgeting, we do the
Exactly.
risk management, we do the hedging, we do the contract share of business allocation, and using all of that we sort of help business save certain, $1 million sort of
Yeah,
revenue, and
revenue.
that
Yeah,
becomes the charter for the teams. And then even if we are 80% there and we have a line of sight of how to get to 90-95% hit rate, and the hit rate is also defined as a success criteria and not just the accuracy, I think that structure that lends a balance to the both business and the tech side of the conversation. And then you start creating these assets that can be leveraged across the transformation pod to build these stories, right?
yeah, exactly. Like I have been from my personal experience, I've worked on a demand forecasting project, right? So
Hmm.
demand forecasting project for one of the clients that I worked with earlier. The problem is they want everyone is fair in their ask. So a supply chain client, or basically an analytics team, or a traditional data science team would only look at that accuracy as the problem, and they
Hmm.
say that I need to get to 85% demand forecasting because today my planners are at 80%.
Hmm.
I need to at least show a lift of 5%, which
Hmm.
is fair from a data science team. Maybe their expectations are fair, but
Hmm.
I think team should ask a different question going forward at least, is that okay, fine, can I get to that 85% in 2 weeks, right? If I can't get to 85% in 2 weeks, let's say, what else can I do? Can I basically instead build an inventory engine, for example, that can bridge that 20% gap? Maybe that predictable, maybe some part of that 20% of inaccuracy is predictable, and I can build up inventory
Correct.
to kind of
Explain that
offset that.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, so then maybe I will be more then maybe on an average at least I will make my supply chain more efficient, even though my
Yeah.
accuracy is still at that 80%. That will still be a value for planners. The other question I have to also ask is, okay, fine, I got it from 80 to 85%, but will it significantly change anything for the planners today? That
Correct.
getting from 80 to 85%, does it really
Cost of
mean,
improving that accuracy.
yeah,
Yeah.
will it result in something? And the efforts that they would have put, maybe I have to put another 6 months of efforts to get there, and the 6 month of effort, whether it's basically bringing any value,
Yeah.
right? And and again, like, this is just some of the questions, but like, coming back to the theme itself, like, are there any ready solutions that can get me there, is
Hmm.
something I can really think about, instead of always thinking that I have to build. Can I basically see something that is already there in these areas? Maybe just
Hmm.
inventory management,
Hmm.
or maybe just giving a basic visibility into where are your demand forecast inaccuracies, current demand forecast inaccuracies, so that you can
Correct.
plan better. If there are
Correct.
any ready solutions, or let's say, yeah, any solution that can maybe just as simple as just detect the anomalies in your demand forecast, or
Hmm.
changes in your forecast, that
Hmm.
itself might add value, right? These are low hanging, high adoption, um, these are low hanging fruits, and they will obviously drive adoption
Hmm.
without a lot of development. So I think that's where adoption approach should come, instead of thinking always that what is innovative or what is novel in this use case to solve.
Hmm.
I have to think about what makes business adopt this solution, and what
Hmm.
makes business efficient as a whole.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
So,
Um,
so then, if you like, so even the knowledge bots, for example, these are traditionally reusable assets only, which are getting configured on company's database, right, on company's knowledge repository. So why are these knowledge bots then an issue, right? Why do we not? So we spoke about the emerging trends in the beginning, and we spoke about how people are shifting from knowledge bots to workflow, because knowledge bots can still be 20 different bots solving each and every
yeah,
problem independently. It's okay, and it may sit under one application for different use cases. So why not create 20 knowledge bots and create one workflow, which can help us solve entire procurement transformation story.
yeah, yeah, true. But I think the first flaw there, Dipesh, is most of the knowledge is not in the bot, right? Most of the knowledge is in the human. That is the problem. So if I
Tribal
have,
knowledge, as we used to call
yeah,
it.
tribal knowledge, exactly. Like, if I just rely on a documentation knowledge, and if I say that my documentation has everything, then there is no problem anyways for the business, right?
True.
So because anyone can refer to
Then you don't need
documentation.
AI, you just need
Yeah,
document reader.
yeah. So that's where workflows come in, because uh, it's not just about giving knowledge, it's
Hmm.
also systematically capturing knowledge.
Hmm.
And for that, you will have to make in some way AI invisible. Like, basically, uh, there is this quote called "the future of AI is no UI," right? So basically, you have to make AI as seamless as
I think
something.
that future has started, by the way.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it
please
has already
continue.
started.
It
Obviously,
has
that has
already
already
started.
started. Yeah, and that's where I think workflows come in, no? Because we are talking to
Yeah.
each other. I don't need another AI bot. Like, if I basically talk over Teams today, or if I talk over Google Meet, I don't need to basically have another bot, or another agent to which I have to tell what happened in the meeting. Today, there is companies like Otter, for example, which will just listen into our meeting, record it, which will summarize, do everything for you. But th- that's the um, that's the beauty, I feel, is basically making it invisible as
Hmm.
much as possible, so that it can listen to what is happening, and then basically it can also create that knowledge that can be shared across enterprise, so that knowledge is not siloed anymore. So at the end of the day, it's still uh, doing the purpose of serving the knowledge,
Hmm.
but it's doing at the background, it's doing many more things to make sure that knowledge is
Hmm.
accurate, or
Hmm.
knowledge is consistent,
Hmm.
right? That is one part. But
Hmm.
the second part is also essentially actions. So for example, how do you make decisions in
Hmm.
business is not just by giving knowledge, right? You have to
Hmm.
make decisions. Multiple people are involved,
Hmm.
multiple collaborations take place,
Hmm.
there are multiple levels of approvals that happen, and
Hmm.
things like that. And we obviously we have these workflows, like these traditional workflows, or traditional system workflows, or RPAs, for example, in
Correct.
a
RBI
company,
is a good
that
example.
were
Yeah.
doing some of this work in the past, like in
Correct.
this collaboration parts, automating some part of the human interactions and all of those things,
Yeah.
is something RPA or traditional workflows were doing. But agents can also augment that part, mainly because agentic workflows can be a little bit smart, because you don't need to hard code every rule, right? You can say that, let's say, in these scenarios, Take a procurement example itself. So if I already know all the rules of the system, I can build a very good system of procurement. But I don't know all the rules of the system, right? Because rules keep evolving of the on the system. So suppose suddenly a COVID type pandemic again hit, how do you basically manage this scenario? You
Hmm.
need to kind of have a system that is smart enough to kind of understand this. So you need to understand this scenario,
Context है,
and
हाँ.
yeah, context play, and then it has to kind of also understand whom to involve in this
Hmm.
scenario, in this
Hmm.
situation. How do you
Hmm.
basically hedge? Maybe
Hmm.
give, maybe you ask basically people to renegotiate with their vendors, because obviously supply, there will be definitely a demand
That is where
scenario.
the risk was
Yeah,
traditionally maximum.
exactly. Or basically you need systems that can kind of, um, like uh, like in procurement, for example, there is this concept of, again, not going to into business, but there is this concept of long term contracts. Like you sign a 1 year
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
contract, but there are points where you still do spot buying just because your
Correct.
prices is low,
Correct.
right? So for example, so how do you make this decision smartly is something AI can help. And this is not a simple, uh,
Hmm.
knowledge bot, right? This is where the decision system comes in.
If I
There is
can,
a-
if I have a nice word for it. So what you are saying, it's not a solving a point solution or
yeah,
giving a point solution in a problem space. It's actually doing process transformation. So the
yeah,
workflow
exactly.
is essential, and why it is so exciting is because it can pick up the entire process of buying, and it can integrate itself in the entire process, working in different contexts, and then independently reasoning where the context is supposed to be more critical, and then
Exactly.
guiding the human in the loop to
Yeah,
manage those risks. And that's
yeah,
where it's probably, it's not just a Q&A, but it's actually guided decision making. Let's call it guided
yeah,
decision making.
exactly, exactly.
Here's a nice way of thinking
Yeah,
about it, maybe.
and any learning downstream. Let's say
Yeah.
I'm taking a decision downstream. I somehow negotiate with my supplier and I got it for a lower price. But can I feed that system? Can I feed that intelligence upstream so that next time when I
Ah,
kind of plan, I can plan for it upfront.
that
I
is
don't
what
need
AI
to.
is, right? What is
Yeah,
intelligence without feedback? Though it
yeah,
doesn't work.
exactly. Yeah. And that upstream to downstream, like basically because a process has 10 steps, right?
Hmm.
Something happens at the 10th step, first step will never know about it. Or even if they know, they only know it's like the Chinese whisper. You know, something happened at the 10th step, but you don't know exactly what happened at the 10th step.
That would be very
But
dangerous if this
yeah,
works in enterprises.
yeah, but no, it's not like that. No, because it's as a whole, enterprises become more efficient.
More
And
efficient. Yeah,
yeah,
of
and
course.
I think, yeah, dangerous as in it's, if I want to create as a person, uh, nobody should create knowledge asymmetry. Is my view. Like I should only hoard the knowledge and I should only keep the knowledge to myself. Is not a good way of thinking about.
And that's not
Um,
the future of knowledge anyway. It has to be
yeah,
governed
exactly.
and memorized in the right way. Only then it can be consumed for
Yeah,
doing positive things in the
and you can
organization
monetize,
and
right?
world.
You can monetize in some form,
Yeah,
because you
absolutely.
contribute more to knowledge. Maybe that also brings in your visibility into the organization. You're
Hmm.
contributing more knowledge to this system. It basically brings more visibility to you as a person, maybe which you didn't have earlier, but now you're
Yes,
getting that just because of
correct.
the fact that you are able to bring more into the system. Yeah,
No, absolutely, Asha. So yeah, I think this has been a fantastic one over the weekend. Such a good conversation. I want to now bring this together, right? So uh, there are various themes we spoke about today, right? We spoke about the trends and how the AI development is getting impacted through various core skill sets, traditionally core skill sets. Then we also spoke about how organizations are looking at it from an adoption standpoint, and eventually that will have a meaningfulness to the how the teams are getting created, who are going to lead the way for the organizations. And then finally we spoke about what is it actually, what is agentic AI, in a little bit small way, 5-10 minute conversation. Do these three things now connect well together in your mind, or are they still independently evolving?
yeah, I think ultimately, if you think about outcomes to the business, from a, if I am a data science team, for example, or if I'm a data scientist who is serving a business, if I think about three outcomes, which is adoption, which is basically value, which ROI, basically maximizing ROI, maximizing adoption, and third is basically reducing the time to value in some sense,
Hmm.
and essentially not just time but time and cost of value.
Hmm.
So minimizing the time and cost of value. uh, if I bring these three together, and if I think everything from these three lens of these three, I think these three, the three themes will come together, because you will have to, if I have to drive adoption, if I have to basically bring value, I have to think about systems, then I have to think about engineering, then I have to think about adoption, I have to think about what is working, what is not, what is working that I can
Hmm.
reuse, and things like that, right? So I think it's your focus as a data scientist. If I basically think about, instead of thinking about what I can do technically, if I think about these three things, I think it inherently means that the the three teams will come together in a harmony. They won't be conflicting, or they won't be independently evolving with each other,
Yeah.
in my view. And I think I think I wanted to also ask you from a strategy and governance perspective, right? Since you have been also working with enterprises on on a consulting engagements, on mainly on AI consulting, AI governance engagements. What is your observation about these three themes, or anything in general?
No, I feel. See, I think the field of AI. Have been very vocal about this since the last 1.5 2 years. Very strong critic of using AI. While I myself am from that industry, and I feel the primary reason is what brings everything together is a right governance practice. Right. There still has to be a, while the machine has learned to speak to the humans. I think humans have now got to put together a framework where they can speak together on a common language in terms of how to make these machines work for us intelligently and in the right, positive, responsible manner. So it may be speaking about people role evolving, and we spoke about the most important role that is evolving, right? So and all the other roles of course we will speak about later on will continue to evolve, but this is where organizations have to have good governance practice to ensure they're positively evolving the roles of people trying to do more. They're also ensuring highly two in a box responsible racy metrics through their governance practices. So we spoke about the procurement charter. That procurement charter now can have a full visibility charter which can be delivered in various stages over the 18 months, and everyone in the procurement should have good clarity of how these things are continuing to come to them. And they are also, while these systems are getting created, there is enough training program for people to get upskilled to be ready to manage the risks, right? Just how they know how to use SAP as an ERP system, right? So Microsoft Dynamics as an ERP system, you have certifications for using that systems. We need to ensure all AI systems have similar level of certifications. This will naturally evolve the roles of people into doing far more than just being, either a business manager or a technology manager, but coming together closely. And finally, I think when we speak about the solution itself, which is getting deployed, I think of it as an architect sitting into your core server, and this is an architect protected by your sovereignty of your systems and data and governances, audited very regularly, and used very precariously in scenarios which has definite ROI, and eventually getting democratized to users, avoiding conflict, right? So a lot more thought has to be given, in my opinion, and while people on the ground are putting all of their energies to creating these success stories, these 5% stories, right, which are coming out in the market, and these are important stories for people to speak about as we continue the journey of adoption. But parallelly, I think there are going to be heads who are going to require to sit on that table discussing what is going to be the governance around protecting their IP, their privacy, their people, and their processes, so that in a competitive environment, in a very cost pressure environment, the company stays ahead of the curve by utilizing AI as a positive toolkit. That is what typically our blueprint is. to organizations. That is what I've learned in my time when I was heading the AI charter. Spent the decade in consulting, building the COE teams, and now I think organizations are looking at that in a big way, hoping to do it in the right way. So there's a very positive effort towards doing it right. That's the good part, and the right people are speaking about it in a lot of forums. But I think we need a lot more people to understand what this governance means, because it's not just another blue book. I call it a red book because it tells you to stop.
Yeah,
If you have not really, read the book, you please stop. But if you have, if you have seen the governance playbook, right, and then you are excited about it, then you can literally continue passing on this red book to people, saying these are my principles. If you don't follow them, don't
yeah,
talk to me about AI. And that's the seriousness we need. Like driving a car without a license, yeah, it's like driving an AI system without the governance certification. So
yeah,
that's what I feel. Sorry for the long answer, but that's what I feel
yeah,
organizations will shift towards in the next coming
yeah.
years. Yeah.
And I think it also involves skills, right? Like it also basically, because at the core of governance is basically skills, because not just like, even if I use something like ChatGPT,
Mm,
it's not just about prompting ChatGPT, but it's also about writing prompts in a way that it is obvious, it gives me reliable answers,
mm,
or it doesn't basically give something that is kind of, harmful for my business, or harmful for the or something that is detrimental, not harmful, but let's say
mm.
something that is detrimental for the outcomes that we are expecting from
Correct.
this thing, right? So what do you think in terms of
No, man,
skills?
that's why we thought about this. No, one tap university is that. So we don't know where this will go. But the idea is we want to create a very responsible learning platform, which is also focused on delivering outcomes to people. So, and over the last 4 weeks, I was telling this in the introduction section before you joined us, that we have close to 100 plus people that we have already trained through this program. And we are now launching so many series, Arsha, together, with your contribution to this program becoming a massive help. So thank you for contributing to that ecosystem of OneTap, and hopefully we are able to help a lot more people shift positively in their career through this initiative. So yeah, that basically was what we decided we will do, and it's been a non-stop effort in the last 3 months. Of course, with your help, becoming a great story. So yeah, I think that's it, Harsha. I think I'll let you take the weekend back. Thank you for spending this time. I know you are traveling. I am traveling. We are both traveling. But somehow we made this work. So thank you. Thank you
Thanks,
for
thanks,
doing
Dipesh.
this.
Nice,
Cheers, man. Have a
nice to
great
catch
time
up.
ahead. Thanks, everyone. Bye.